on the road and in the Basque Country against a team with 7 straight losses against Barça, and an 18th birthday for Ansu Fati should have been a game that Barça, in theory, could have rotated and had an easier match than the last 2 against Real Madrid and Juventus. To say that wasn't the case is an understatement. The lineup saw little rotation, which does make sense when you look at individual players. The international break is coming up, so a few players will get some rest. Alba is getting his fitness back, Busquets came back in for Pjanic, Dembele is starting just his second game of the season. This is just the game to give Griezmann a run out, and Lenglet had to start because there are no other center backs. The one question for me was actually De Jong. He started every match this season, and while his partnership with Busquets isn't working, maybe there is the understanding that you are going to be run off the pitch if you start Busquets next to Pjanic, so De Jong has to start. But if that is the case, that's a terrifying thought about Busquets, and one that certainly felt a bit like a nightmare in the first half. As bad as Barca were in this match, I want to give some credit to Pablo Machin and his team. Alavés weren't just sitting back in the low block and defending. They defended in a 4-4-2, and when pushed deep settled into a 5-4-1. In terms of the integrity of the league, it's been great to see the teams expected to be near the bottom of the table not afraid of Barca and Real Madrid. Machin has never been afraid of the Blaugrana though, even though he hasn't had the result. To his credit, whether it was Girona, Sevilla, or Espanyol, he always went for it against Barcelona. The only bright spot in that entire first half was the one time when Fati really got loose in the 13th minute, coming off the shoulder of one of the center backs. I guess the free kick in the 21st minute was a bright spot too, but Griezmann didn't get a shot off, and to me, Busquets should have had a half chance on net. Make your own luck. But Barca were getting all in their own way. Too many extra touches and too unselfish, and way too many mistakes. And that leads us to the first goal. 31st minute, all the goodwill that Neto had built up practically disappeared with one touch. Piqué gave him a simple pass that should have been put right back into Piqué's path. But instead, Rioja takes it right off of him, and it's the easiest goal of the season for a Barca opponent. There were updates throughout that first half that Koeman was furious, and for good reason. I give you tactics and ideas, but none of that matters if the opponent just wants it more. They didn't have fans to cheer them on, but their desire was clear. The first goal happens because it seems that Machin gave the simple instruction to follow any backwards pass to the next man and keep the general shape defensively. And Alavés did that expertly well, and they were rewarded with a goal. In the 35th minute, De Jong was pushed in the back, and it should have been a penalty. It wasn't, and VAR didn't seem to need a second look. If Barca wins, it's forgotten, but I'm going to just store that one in the memory bank for the end of the season, when we see the difference between 1st and 6th in La Liga. Then right before halftime, Barca found a way to get 2 yellows on the same play, Busquets on the tackle, and then Lenglet on the pullback. When Barca are playing poorly like this, that usually means that Busquets isn't having a good day. Once again, I'll reiterate, Pjanic and De Jong should be the starting double pivot, but that doesn't mean that Busquets is finished and his legend is completely done. It means that 2 incredible players are currently outplaying him. Now the bigger systemic issues about formation and whether Busquets can ever fit into a double pivot alongside Pjanic or De Jong is a much larger argument, and I think for another time. With Barca in a bad way, Koeman made necessary changes at halftime. Dembele, Busquets, and Lenglet out for Trincao, Pedri, and Pjanic, and moving De Jong back to center back. It was still technically a 4-2-3-1, with Pedri playing as an interior and a bit deeper than we normally see him, but still in front of Pjanic as a sole defensive midfielder. With Messi also dropping, it honestly looked quite like a 4-3-3, but we should really stop worrying about formation so much and what the relative positions and jobs of players were with more than 70% of possession. That possession increased to 83% in the second half, due to the red card to Jota in the 62nd minute. Even before the red, Barca looked better, hungrier, and more attentive, and that led to a goal with a little luck. But it's what I said before, that desire helped create luck. Fati on the left to Pedri, back to Fati, and the fortunate bounce to Griezmann, who finally got his first goal of the season. From there on out, it was the Fernando Pacheco show. A tremendous save in the 65th minute, and then the highlight reel plays in the 88th and 89th minutes on shots from Dest, Pjanic, and a Piqué header. I will say that the additions this time were correct though from Koeman, with Dest on for Alba and Braithwaite on for Fati to occupy a more central spot, that being the 5 subs. That second goal never came, and the red card did give Barca a considerable advantage, but I was still happy with the second half. It does back up my belief that this team is at present time better with their younger players on the field. We could frame this as the veterans being so terrible to start, because they have been. Obviously Busquets and Griezmann, but even Lenglet, Piqué, and Messi not being themselves. The limitations of Roberto and Alba, you get the idea. But I'd rather focus on the positive, in that the new faces have been better than expected. Fati's start has been well documented, but Dest's quick adaptation, Trincao earning minutes, and Pedri constantly pushing the boundaries of what we think he can be capable of. For the second straight match, Pedri has impressed, and has people jumping into hyperbole about just how good he could be, but I'll just talk about how good the 17-year-old is now. Trincao has been bright, but he does need to move the ball a little quicker, and the sporadic minutes have not helped him to really get match fitness. Adapting to Barca is supposed to take time, but how quickly the teenager has done so is remarkable. He could crash back down to earth at any moment, and that's totally okay at his age, but at the moment, he's one of Barca's only quote-unquote in-form players, if such a thing exists, and he's earned every minute he's had. Thankfully, the second half was better than the first, and I was able to end on a positive, but the storyline will be that Barca has dropped 8 out of their last 9 points. I wanted to believe in Koeman, and it's hard to ask him to do a job with everything else for the club going on, but that excuse won't work for his job prospects. He has to turn things around, and fast. He can only work with the players he has, but some hard decisions might need to be made if you can catch my drift. And we'll be here for that, so make sure to keep checking this channel for more content like this, including our weekly and sometimes twice a week podcast. And as always, until next time, Forza Barça.